Brian Windhorst joins us now from Boston, where the Sixers didn't win this critical Game 5, Brian, as much as they dominated it. What most impressed you / surprised you about the result?
I kind of think what surprised me is that the Sixers didn't really play great. I mean, they executed their game plan. They got the ball to Joel Embiid. He slowed the game down. Scott, he scored 33 points. Guess what? He averages 33 points. He shot less than 50% from the field. Obviously, we see Harden have two 40-point games. He had a fine game. Now, Tyrese Maxey definitely played well. He played his best game of the playoffs, and that was a difference-making situation. But I think what you have here is you had a game where the Celtics played poorly, but the reason that it hurt so bad is because they let Game 4 get away from them, and they let the Sixers win Game 1 without Embiid. So because of those two situations, they left themselves vulnerable. And look, the people here in Boston are really frustrated and upset that they didn't have more energy, and all of that's true, and there's some reasons why the Celtics team's in trouble. But this loss is hurtful because of the other two games they let go.
That's fair. I just wonder, in a game you've got to have when the energy is lacking and the defense, which was such a calling card, is not completely absent, but certainly not there as it needed to be. That's a concerning moving forward, obviously.
Yeah, you just hit on something there. So what people here are saying, naturally, is they're going to remember the second round last year when they lost Game 5 at home, a much more hotly contested Game 5 at home to Giannis and the Bucks. They go to Milwaukee, Tatum scores 46, and they end up winning the series. That's what people are saying here, and it's a reasonable thing to bring up, and it could happen again. But the difference is that this team doesn't play the same way. And I do think it's largely because of Joe Mazzulla. He has a different philosophy. This team shoots a lot of three-pointers, okay? Tonight, they were 9 of 33. This team can't survive 9 of 33 like last year's team could. Last year's team was the number 2 defense in the postseason, throughout the postseason. This team is 10th on defense. They don't have the same margin for error. When you ask Joe Mazzulla about defense, he answers most of the time with offensive answers. You say tonight, Joe, how come you guys couldn't get more stops? And he'd say, well, we weren't scoring enough. That's the mentality that this team has that last year's team didn't have. And so I think they're very potent, which is why I would definitely not say this is over. They could go down to Philly and hit 24 threes and crush them. But they're less resilient. And that's a year-over-year difference that has made this team not as fierce as you would have seen the Celtics last year.
Brian, in our studio at the moment on the big screen, it's got a name. If I'm here 20 years, I'll never know what that screen's called. We'll just call it the Big. You got a picture of Doc Rivers, you got a picture of Joe Mazzulla. One guy's coached more than 200 playoff games. You can knock him for blowing 3-1 leads all you want. He's been through battles, wars, routes, everything. Joe Mazzulla's new to this. How much of a coaching mismatch is overstating it, but what do you make of the coaching matchup?
Well, when you hire a 34-year-old coach, you know that you are going to get growing pains. You would like to believe that those growing pains would happen in the regular season, but the reality is there's going to be growing pains. And when you give a 34-year-old coach a Ferrari, which is what this team is, you're taking a level of risk. They, I do believe, have paid a little bit of a price of that in the first round, or in this round. They have enough talent to overcome it. But again, it goes back to letting go of games 1 and 4. There's no way that this should have been 2-2 coming into tonight. Because it was 2-2, they narrowed their margin for error, and then the coaching philosophies come into play. A bad shooting night comes into play. You just can't survive it. So much of postseason basketball is margin for error.
Yep.
The Celtics, even though they're awesome and they were the number 2 seed, and I thought they had a great chance to win the title, still do, their margin for error is smaller this year than it was last year, and that is really biting them right now.
And if they get 46 from Tatum in Game 6, then they'll be fine. But it's a lot to ask for, Brian. I appreciate the time and the context, as always.
All right, Scott.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.